Simcha, celebration, Simcha, Simcha, the celebration of life.
Hi from me, Jared Epstein, and welcome to another series of Simcha, a celebration of life. Pesach is the Jewish festival of freedom and commemorates the exodus of the Jewish people from Egypt over 3,000 years ago. Rabbi Matthew Liebenberg takes a closer look at the meaning of Pesach.
Pesach, or Passover, is an incredible festival. According to modern statistics, the Pesach Seder, the meal that is eaten on the first night of Passover, is in fact the ceremony that is observed by more Jewish people than any other ceremony in the entire religion. What is its power? How is it able to bring people together, even those people who are distant from religion, who are distant from Judaism? And there's so many different factors. For one, it's a time of the year that we get together with our families. Families come together, they gather around the table, and they speak about their past. Where did we come from? What were her origins? What were our roots? And it's so important for a person to know where he came from. What were his background? What were his ancestors? What is the history of his nation? And the entire Passover Seder is very focused on the youth. In the Haggadah, which is the book that we read at the Pesach Seder, it speaks about 4 sons, different children. You've got a wise child, you've got a wicked child, you've got a simple child, you've got a child who doesn't know how to ask. They're not sophisticated, but we teach them. So it's a way of trying to bridge the generation gap between parents and children, grandparents and grandchildren, and we put them together. But I think there's another idea about Pesach which is so powerful. And this is something that I heard from a rabbi many years ago. And he said as follows: Pesach is our annual Thanksgiving dinner. It's a Thanksgiving dinner. We're giving thanks to God for all of the miracles, of all of the kindness and all of the goodness that He did for us. And this is reflected in an interesting custom, or more correctly, a law that we have at the Pesach Seder. Usually, when we have a meal for a festival or for the Sabbath, we have 2 loaves of bread. We have 2 loaves of bread. And this reminds us that during their sojourn in the wilderness, the Jewish people, the children of Israel, had the manna. And on Friday, 2 portions of manna would fall. And therefore, on the Sabbath, we have 2 loaves of bread. But on Pesach, we have 3 loaves of matzah, unleavened bread. Why do we have 3? Why suddenly on this festival are there 3 instead of 2? And some want to suggest a very interesting answer. There is something called the korban todah, the thanksgiving offering. When a person went through a difficult situation, when they went through a life-threatening situation, they would come to the temple and they would bring the thanksgiving offering. And this was an animal, and together with the animal, there were 40 loaves. 10 of the loaves was regular bread, and 30 of the loaves were matzah, unleavened bread, 3 different types of matzah. And therefore, on our Pesach Seder, which is Thanksgiving, we also have these 3 loaves of matzah. And what do they represent? So the Talmud tells us, when would a person bring a Thanksgiving offering? They would bring it when they went through the wilderness. It was very dangerous in those days to travel through the wilderness. Or if they crossed the sea, also incredibly dangerous and still dangerous today. Or they were held in prison and they were released. Well, all of these 3 things happened to the Israelites in Egypt. They were in prison. They were slaves. They were being held by Pharaoh. They couldn't get out, and yet they were released from Egypt. The great commentator Rashi says, not a single slave was ever able to escape from Egypt. And here an entire nation, some say the numbers were close to 2 million, were released from bondage, came out. That's a reason to give thanks. Then we went through the wilderness. We traveled through the wilderness until we came to Mount Sinai, and God protected us. And we also came through the sea. We went through the Red Sea, which was split. And therefore, we have these 3 loaves of matzah, which remind us of the korban todah, the thanksgiving offering. And therefore, once a year, Jewish people gather around their tables and give thanks and show their gratitude to God and say to Him, thank you for saving us, thank you for nurturing us, and thank you for bringing us to this time. I wish you a Passover which is full of joy, simcha, and a wonderful time to join with your family.
One of the core observances of Pesach is the eating of matzah, which is kind of like unleavened bread, which signifies how during the Exodus, the Jews were unable to allow their bread to rise as they had to flee in a hurry. We set out to find some fun things you can do with and without matzah in the kitchen over this time.
Mina, how about we make better than chametz chocolate brownies?
Yum.
We love that recipe, hey? Okay, so today we're going to be using some eggs, some oil, we've got white sugar, potato starch, cocoa powder, and freshly ground almonds. We ready, Mina?
Yes.
Okay, we're going to start by cracking the eggs. We'll give them a good check to make sure that they're blood-free. Oops, that one looks perfect. You can start whisking it gently, gently, just so that they're incorporated with the yolks. Here's your second one. Egg number 3. Keep whisking gently. And now we're done. Okay. Great. Now we'll gently add in the oil. And you keep mixing. There we go. And now we'll start putting in the dry ingredients. We'll start with the potato starch. And what's so good about this recipe is that anyone who's gluten intolerant can enjoy this all year round. So this recipe is not only a fabulous Pesach recipe, it's also great for those who, can't tolerate gluten during the year. So we'll incorporate that to make sure there's no lumps. At this point, we don't use the whisk, we use the spoon because we don't want to over mix. Okay, keep mixing. Okay, now we're going to add the sugar, give it a gentle mix. Okay, keep going, it's a lot of sugar. So we try to keep things very healthy over Pesach, but we've got to have 1 or 2 treats just to keep it really special as well. And this has always been our favorite, right?
Yes.
How do you like it best, hot, frozen or regular?
Hot.
It is lovely hot.
And it's so much better than non-chametz.
Then chametz.
Than chametz.
Okay, just try and gently mix it in from the outside in. Well done. Now we'll add the ground almonds.
Ground almonds are my favorite part of Pesach.
We use lots and lots of nuts on Pesach. They are great. So Mina, why do we celebrate Pesach?
Because Hashem took us out of Egypt.
And what was the whole purpose of Hashem taking us out of Egypt?
So that he can give us the Torah so that we can be his nation.
Absolutely beautiful. What's your favorite part of Pesach?
I like when family comes and the potatoes dipped in salt water.
Oh wow, yes, we all love that. That is a favorite. Now we're almost done, so we're going to get a dish and we're going to put it into a dish. Okay, Mina, you've done a great job. Thank you so much. You can definitely enjoy your favorite part of baking off camera. Make a bracha. Okay, now we're going to fold it gently into the tin. There we go. Would be a good idea to just coat it with a little bit of oil beforehand, just to ensure that it removes easily. Okay, there we go. Now we'll pop it straight into the oven. Preheated at 160. So unfortunately we can't use this egg because in Judaism we're forbidden to eat any form of blood. So even a little blood spot on an egg would be considered unkosher and therefore this one gets discarded.
Oh, it smells so good.
Okay, Mina, I've just mixed together some icing sugar with some hot water just so that it's nice and runny so we can use it to decorate our brownie. And we've got some beautiful raspberries here. We've just checked them all inside to make sure there's no bugs inside because that would ensure that they're also kosher, ready to eat. Okay, we're now going to slice the brownie. So we'll just slice it in some rectangles and gently remove it with a lifter so you get all of that out. Okay. And place it down on your dish. Let's get about 3 pieces out.
Okay.
So, Mina, why can't we use regular flour? Why only potato flour?
Because we can't have chametz on Pesach.
Okay, what is chametz?
It's like, mostly, it's basically bread.
So anything that has risen, any leaven is forbidden on Pesach, made of the 5 grains, oats, wheat, barley, rye, and spelt. And if they've risen, then we can't use them on Pesach. But what is it to remember? What are we commemorating?
When the Jews were leaving Egypt, they were rushing, so they didn't have time to let their bread rise for Shabbos. So it turned out to look like matzah. So then write like things that have risen after that.
Right, so to remember that, we don't eat any leaven at all. We're very, very careful not to use any leaven. Okay, so now we're going to try and decorate each brownie piece with a little bit of icing. Okay, we'll just drizzle some icing across the top. I'm going to just gently place 2 raspberries, or just 1 raspberry like that. There we go. Next one. Put your raspberry on. What a delectable Pesach treat. Definitely better than chametz brownies. How's that? Thank you so much for joining us in our pre-Pesach bake.
That was so much fun. Let's do it again tomorrow.
Okay, no problem.
Sarah Evian is a renowned teacher of Jewish mysticism. She recently published Beloved of the Soul, which was 4 years in the making and aims to help people find connection through the Jewish daily prayers. Over the coming months, Sarah will take us on a journey through the process of prayer and also look at some of the specific prayers she covers in the book.
We're talking about prayer, and in Judaism, prayer is really the search for unity, because we are all created beings looking for some kind of wholeness in our lives. And Judaism teaches us that the human being is really on the highest level of creation. So we have the inanimate and we have the plant life, which grows but doesn't move, and then we have the animal life which moves and grows, and then there's the human being which moves and grows and actually speaks. And we learn, the Torah teaches us that God, Hashem, the one divine being, actually created the universe through speech. So speech becomes the tool through which creation is made. And so we have that as human beings. We each have the ability to speak, and through speaking we create things. We bring our thoughts into manifest being, and we share with each other through speaking, and prayer is a point of that, where we actually speak our desires out into the open. And so that's why prayer is the search for unity. That in desiring something more than we have, in desiring connection and wholeness, we are speaking into being something that we are longing for and that we are wanting to be. So prayer is also our longing for something better, for something more in our lives. And we are also taught that the longing for something, the yearning for something more than we have or more than we are, that is very much a place of openness. The Torah teaches us that actually it's not what we have or who we are that defines who we are. Very often it's what we are lacking and wanting that defines who we are. And the analogy they use is that of a syringe, where you're pulling backwards and creating a vacuum. And that vacuum creates a space which needs to be filled. And that, in a sense, is what prayer is. We create, we notice, we are conscious of what is lacking, the vacuum, and through that, prayer attempts to fill it, or makes the first move in order to fill the vacuum. And we learn that nature, the nature of nature, is that it abhors a vacuum. And so a vacuum naturally needs to be filled. And so in our longing for something and praying for it, that is the first step in fulfilling it and having that void filled. So the beginning of prayer in the Jewish prayer book, the first prayer is called Modeh Ani, which is really a prayer of gratitude and thanksgiving. And it is said first thing in the morning, really as we open our eyes and come into consciousness, awakening from our subconscious state of sleep. And this is a prayer. Judaism teaches that the beginning things are always the most potent. And so if we begin our day, the first moments of our day, the first moments of our consciousness, of being aware that our soul is being returned into our body, because every created thing is made up of a soul which is more spiritual and a body which is very physical. That linking of our soul into our body is very important for us. And this first consciousness of the day sets off a rollout of being that has intention. And so the first prayer is called Modeh Ani, and it says, Modeh Ani lefanecha, melecha v'kayam, shehechizarta binishmati v'chimla rabba emunatecha. And the English translation of that is, I am thankful to be in your presence, Supreme Master of all life and existence. You restore within me my life force with care. How great is your trust in me? And so that is how we begin our day. And that moves on to the next prayer, which is really a beautiful prayer, which is called V'ahavta l're'echa kamocha. And so once we have arisen after saying Modeh, we then begin our prayer by saying V'ahavta l're'echa kamocha, which is found in the Torah in Leviticus, chapter 19, verse 18, and it is, I'm ready to take upon myself and actively fulfill the mandate that you shall love your neighbor as yourself. V'ahavta l're'echa kamocha. And I'm going to read here. All of creation is part of God's oneness. Our bodies are separate, yet our souls form an essential unity. A healthy soul is one that incorporates all other souls within itself. Just as any physical organ, to be healthy, must be connected via the veins to all the body's other organs. It is through being unified with all other souls that my own soul can ascend into the all-encompassing light that is its source and root. When we truly unite with each other, the Shekhinah, Hashem, God's feminine force, dwells among us. I meet God when I meet the mouth of God's expression, which is namely the face of another human being. And this is the single most important secret to activating our prayers. And that is why it is one of the first prayers that we say.
Well, that's all we have for this week's episode of Simcha, a celebration of life. As always, we'd love to hear from you, so please send us a Facebook message at Spirit Sister Productions. From me, Jared Epstein, and the Simcha team, here's a little joke. Why do we have a Haggadah at Passover? So we can say the right words.